Wow. Wow. Thank you all for coming out. It's an important topic. Love you too. Love you guys so much. Thank you.
Well,
Sabrina.
there's a full room. We don't have to be worried.
Yeah, beautiful. It's an important topic.
It's an important topic, and I have to tell you that I was a little nervous when they called and asked if I'd talk to you about this. I have 3 children, and I thought, I don't know if I can do this, but we're here to hear about your son, Eric, to hear about your experience and what you can share with people in this room who I know are worried about similar challenges. So,
Sabrina, let me just throw a couple numbers out, and what you said is very, very important. You are nervous because of the topic. Now, I will tell you, I've become what I call an accidental expert in the topic of opioid overdoses, and I didn't want to be here. I didn't think I'd be standing on the stage talking to you about this. I thought I'd be standing on the stage talking to you about President Trump or something that I had done for the past 12 years. On September 8th of this past year, 6 months or so ago, my wife and I were driving home from dinner. We got that phone call that every parent dreads, and it was a young man, hysterical, saying, "Mr. Bolling, call Kayla right away." He texted me her number. Kayla was a friend of his, and I called, and she was crying, and all I could hear was crying. And I remember the first thing out of my mind, and I don't know why, it was, "Is he alive?" And she said no. My wife was listening. She was driving. We had pulled over the side of the road. She spilled onto the roadway, picked her up, and we sat. And we went into this area that I just cannot explain. As a parent, you worry about that call, but it's deeper and darker than you can ever imagine. Anyway, so I've become now, in the last 6 months, I've done as much as I can to bring the opioid crisis to the forefront. We need to understand that 175 people per day die from opioid overdoses. 175 per day, not per year, per day. Think about if 175 people, or 64,000 a year, like last year, died from the water, something in the water, or something in the meat system supply. We would be spending billions upon billions of dollars to make sure this stopped. However, we're not. So I've become the opioid accidental expert. I've spoken to President Trump. Very quick story. In the very, very deep, dark times that we were having, my wife and I, this is about 6 weeks after Eric Chase passed, we were going to sit down to Thanksgiving dinner, and there's an empty chair there, the proverbial empty chair. We had it, and I knew it was going to be a big deal, and I knew it was going to be really, really bad. And we're walking over the table, and the phone rang, my cell phone rang, and it was President Trump, who said, "Eric, I just want you to know, no one should have to lose a child, and we're thinking of you." Very, very important. He did that. But the point is, yeah, he's been great. He showed empathy and compassion for what that was all about. So I used that as an opportunity to say, "Hey, Mr. President, thank you so much. Can I come talk to you about this?" And I have. I've gone to the White House several times. I've spoken to President Trump, Kellyanne Conway, Mercedes Schlapp, the whole other groups. I'm doing it on a volunteer basis because the word needs to get out. They're doing a great job. They have some initiatives that are starting, and one I'm actually helping them with next week, but they can do more. We can always do more. There's a lot more to do. They're focusing on the supply side. So a lot of the pills that are coming in either legally or illegally, produced here legally or coming in from China,
and by mail, right?
Or by mail, are coming in on the supply. They deal with the supply side of it. So there's a lot of these coming in, and we need to figure out what's right and what's wrong, and then the demand side as well. We really need to talk to kids about how dangerous these drugs are. Let me just touch on one thing. What you said, you were nervous. I've gone onto Twitter and used my Twitter as this meeting point for people who are touched by the opioid crisis, and they're literally millions. I've had 200,000 people put stories up on my Twitter talking about it. But here's something that's really, really important. You're a parent out there. Not my kid syndrome. Not my kid syndrome is dangerous and deadly. I can't tell you how many parents have called me and said, or texted me and said, or put it up on Twitter, I had an A student and I never thought it was going to happen, but guess what? It happened to him too. Or a star athlete, or the prom queen or prom king, really popular. Opioids kill. They don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic, boy, girl, gay, straight, young, old, rich, poor. They don't care. It's an unbiased killer of our kids. Last stat, if you're under 50 in America, the most likely reason you're going to die accidentally is from opioids, far higher than car accidents or gun violence.
Oh my God. Eric, I think, first of all, those stats are terrifying. I think one maybe misperception on the opioid epidemic is that it's all people who have gotten hooked on, they had a surgery or they have chronic pain. But I think your story is telling us something very different. Can you sort of elaborate
It's both,
a little bit?
Sabrina,
Yeah.
it's both. It's a lot of young athletes I hear who, a girl was a soccer player, she blew her knee out and she needed surgery. They prescribed opioids and she became hooked on them and later on overdosed on too many opioids. Right. It's that. My son, turns out that he passed through the night on September 8th. It happened to be the same day I separated from Fox, so it was a very unbelievable timing for us. But the coroner came back and said he passed from, he had Xanax and fentanyl, likely a Xanax that was not a prescribed Xanax tablet. Now, college campuses across the country, there are people trading and buying and selling Xanaxes for stress, for anxiety, for whatever. They're giving their prescriptions to other people who are having stress. He took a Xanax that was laced with fentanyl. Fentanyl is one of the deadliest, strongest drugs on the market. It could be deadly too. Not unwittingly and passed through the night. So it's both. It's an addiction that it's a pain relief that turns into an addiction that ends up killing some people because they'll take too much or mix with the wrong other drugs. Or sometimes they're buying stuff from the street, what's called bad batches or hot batches that contain too much of something that no one expected to be in it. And those are true accidental deaths. So
we're here at CPAC. I think a lot of people here are thinking what more themselves, their communities, and of course here in Washington, what can we be doing? Does this open up a whole new discussion of the war on drugs? Is it all a conversation about our healthcare system? And there's a lot of great innovation taking place to bring new drugs to the market that are not addictive. So what do you think our goals should be in the next 12 months?
I think, we've heard that all of the above strategy, and this is really one of those where you need all of the above. You need to really, listen, I'm going to just put it out there. I lost a son. I heard last week that Purdue Pharmaceuticals said that they're going to cut their sales force in half, the group that sells OxyContin. Now, I'm sitting there watching that, and at first glance, I'm like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. And at second glance, as I dig deeper into this thought-wise, I go, why is there a massive sales force to sell a pain reliever? Why does a pharmaceutical company have a massive sales force to put a bunch of pain relievers into the hands of distributors and doctors? Why it feels like a push. They're pushing the pain reliever onto the system, the healthcare system, versus a pull. A doctor saying, I have real need for this group of people. I need this many pills. Let me have those. It didn't compute to me. And the next question is, are they the only ones doing it? The distributors, there's a middle level as well that may be getting involved as well. So I really think that the system has to be examined. The good news, and there is a bit of good news, is that President Trump has pushed for more awareness and more funding, and the budget saw, I believe it was $6 billion each over the next 2 years for increased opioid awareness. I think that's a drop in the bucket, though. I think we need a lot more funding.
It's the start. So as I mentioned, I have 3 children, not quite of the age of your son yet, but what do you tell someone like myself? What do you tell my husband and our friends who are thinking, my oldest is 10, so we're just on that cusp of beginning to look ahead to...
What I've learned from this clearinghouse on my Twitter account, that people are coming, kids are being targeted younger and younger, so it's not college age anymore, it's not even high school age, now it's middle school age. So have the conversations with your kids, tell them, use me as an example. I have a son. My son was a sophomore at the University of Colorado. He had a great freshman year at University of Colorado. He was very social, a lot of friends. There was nothing that gave us the impression that I would be on this stage right now. I will tell you one thing, though. In the last couple of weeks before his death, his personality changed dramatically. So I heard we'd have the conversation. He went to Colorado, marijuana is legal in Colorado, and I would say, stay away from the hard stuff, Eric. I mean, and he would say, Dad, I got this. Dad, I got this. It keeps ringing in my head. Dad, I got this. He had it until he didn't have it.
Right.
And in that last few weeks, the personality change was so dramatic. Read the sign and don't have the not my kid syndrome. Have the conversations with him or her.
I think that's a great place to end. And again, I think everyone in this room is sorry for your loss, Eric.
Sabrina, thank you.
Thank you. This is great.
Thank you, guys.